Hi, hello.
Hi, it worked.
Hey. It's so nice to see your
I
face.
feel great to see you too. I just have to tell you, I am so honored to be a part of this magazine, and it was so exciting to see all of that artwork together. This was a beautiful, beautiful issue.
Oh, thank you so much. And Molly, I'm going to wait a little bit, and I may say this again, but I was so excited when you submitted to see your name. I'm like, yay, Molly.
Thank you.
So,
It's been a long time, and I'll explain a little bit about
sure,
that in a little bit, but
sure.
it's been a long time.
Yeah, I was just kind of going through your feed a little bit. I'm like, oh, look at all your pretty stuff. And oh, I miss seeing her. So, well, it's 11 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Of course, since this will all be up as a replay for anybody that misses it. I am joined for our last live of this little self-care adventure by Molly Anthony. And like I was just saying, I was so excited when I saw Molly's name on a submission to this issue. I have followed Molly for a long time on Instagram, and just love her work and love what she does with taking found pieces of things from her walks and whatever and making them into beautiful things. I have to say though, Molly, the very first and most important question I'm going to ask you is, how is Oliver?
It's so funny you ask that because I can hear him at the top of the stairs. He gets so distance learning did a number on him because he could hear that there were people there, and he
Oh
just loved
yeah.
people so much, but he couldn't get to them. So
No, no.
anytime we're doing something where it's like a Zoom call or something, he just freaks out. So
Oh,
he's
poor
upstairs
puppy.
because he's obnoxious, but he is good. He's good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I miss you and your art, but I do also miss seeing your dog and the walks that you take with him. I was just thinking about this earlier. I have had a dog since I was a little kid, up until about, I think it's been 2 years that we lost Katie. And so we've transitioned to be a cat household, and I love my cats. Um, and they suit our lifestyle a little bit better than dogs do right now, but I do miss having a dog. They're very special.
Well, and Oliver is obsessed with our neighbors have three outdoor cats, and he
Mm.
is obsessed with the
Oh
cats.
dear.
And the cats will come over and we'll hang out with them out front, but he's a bit too excitable for them. So they don't like him very much, but he really,
Yeah.
really wants a kitty.
Aw.
So do my kids, but I'm like, no, you can play with the neighbors'
There you
cats
go.
and we'll let them take care of them.
Yeah. I never pictured myself having three cats, let alone one, but we're enjoying the excitement. There are a lot of entertainment factors.
Oh
So
my gosh, the personalities. I love cat videos.
yeah.
That was one of the things that got me through the pandemic, and all the just funny cat videos. They are
Oh
the best.
sure.
They're very
That's
entertaining.
That's an excellent example of self-care.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So now that we've gotten the important bit out of the way, I'd love to have you talk about your journey, what you've been doing, what you've been up to, and art journaling and self-care and anything that we've been doing about 30 minutes. I think that's felt like a pretty good time. And I think you are ready to do a demo later too. If
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would love if people would love to do that. I'd love to do a demo.
Okay, well, I'll let you start and we'll visit and then we can see where we're
All right.
going.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, and it's interesting because things have changed so much for me artistically from when I used to post on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
to now. And I keep trying to get back to Instagram, and I think it's my confidence level has just been shaken. And so
Oh,
I'm hoping this will help give me that push to come back, because one of the things I miss so much is the community.
sure.
Everybody is so amazing and so supportive, and I really, really miss that. Um, but when I left Instagram, it was for personal reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter's health she's been struggling with mental health issues, and she was hospitalized at the beginning of
Oh,
2020, and our
so sorry
lives
to hear that.
immediately changed.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
she's young too, so that has been very, very difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
so when COVID started, I really didn't even know it was happening, because she was actually in the hospital while I was getting notifications that our schools were shutting down and things were shut. And I was going, what is COVID? I don't even know what this is.
Oh.
And so it was interesting because at the beginning of that, I quit doing anything because I didn't have the mental capacity for it. We were in survival mode. We were in a state of shock. It was a lot to handle. And so I pulled back from everything and just kind of pushed pause. And then it was amazing how quickly I felt this like jitteriness in my fingers, like I had to do something.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, I started keeping illustrated journals, and my kids and I would just kind of catalog what we had done during the day. We'd record like all the sidewalk chalk drawings we had done. And so we started doing that, and I was really scared to post just because everything was so raw in my life. And I didn't feel like I could share anything because it was so much of her story. And even though I'm her mom and we were living all of this, it's very much her story. And it's, you know, we've learned so much about mental health in the past 4 years. And it's such a struggle to get people to understand. And
we're so used to so many people oversharing sometimes that to see someone not share at all, everybody's got to choose where on that spectrum feels best to them.
Yeah, and we're starting to share more now because we're learning so much more, and the conversations that I've had with people have been just so amazing, and there are so many people struggling with so many things, and I think it's just so important to talk about. And one of the things that really saved me during all of this, during her experiences and with the pandemic, was art. And I think pulling back and focusing on just what I was doing was so helpful, because everything leading up to that was, I've got to post something, I've got to share something, I need to do something on Etsy, I've got to work on my website. Everything was for exposure, because I really, really wanted, I loved that, and I really wanted to work towards that. And I had lost my job right before the pandemic, and so
oh my goodness,
like, okay, like let's do this push. I can do this. But then I had to pull everything back, and so my first thought was, well, if I'm making something and not posting it, does this matter? Does this count? And I very quickly realized it does, and way more than I ever imagined. And so there was so much of what I was doing where before that I was so focused on what I was posting, and now it's the act of creating. And I've been teaching a ton of art classes locally, and everything that we talk about in the classes is focusing on the process. Not worrying about the product, doing it for yourself, doing it to take care of yourself, just slowing down and giving yourself that time to appreciate just playing and just exploring. And watercolors are so great for that.
Definitely.
I was always so afraid of them because there was such a lack of control.
And
I think once my life reached that crisis level and I realized how much was out of my control, I really learned to embrace watercolors for that reason, because I didn't have control, and here was a beautiful way to harness that and just kind of play with that. And so they've been really fun to play with.
That's awesome. We've been talking a lot this week, and then on the podcast I did, about process and doing it for the sake of doing it, not worrying about, I have to make it look just right and set up the whatever so that, my little flat lay looks great for the screen, and that's definitely on a lot of people's minds, I think. So it's.
One of the most powerful examples that I've had of that is one of the classes that I'm teaching is through our local school district. And at the end of the year, last year, we always have a parent survey. And so mental health has been just such a huge part of our lives. And just seeing how the pandemic has affected the kids in our school, the staff, the teachers, on our parent survey, I said, I talked about our own experiences with getting support through the school district. And the work we still needed to do there for the kids. But I said the other big piece of this is for teachers and staff.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they are burned out, and this is a lot, and we are putting so many expectations on these teachers that are just unreasonable. And so we lost a lot of really amazing staff from our school last year. And so the superintendent actually called me over the summer, and I was a little shocked. But so we had a great conversation about it. And I said, look, I don't want to just complain and tell you what's wrong without giving some kind of something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know if this is valuable at all, but I've been teaching art classes for self-care. If there's any way I can give back to these teachers who have been so supportive of me and my family, I would love to do that. And so that actually turned into, I've been teaching classes for the teachers and staff in our district through their learning academy for self-care. And so it's been amazing. And one of the most interesting pieces has been at the very beginning of each session, we talk about, we're just here to play. We are here to relax and enjoy this and just be playful. And it's so amazing to see these teachers who work with kids, like, just go, wait, I can do that. I can relax and play and just to see them open up and give into that process has just been so wonderful.
And are these elementary school teachers that you're working, like K-6 age teachers or older?
K through 12.
It is K through 12.
Yep, and staff too. So anybody on district level, anybody can join. So and that's been great too, to see teachers from different buildings coming together and opening up conversations, and rather than just meeting together for district level meetings and stuff, to be able to come together in a safe space and just play. And in every class that I do, it's always so incredible at the beginning how quiet people can be, and as they start to work, how they get comfortable and open up. And that's just such a wonderful thing to see.
That's great. I don't know if you know this, Molly, but I was a secretary at our local K-12 school for 10 years, and I actually quit. So I worked I worked 20, oh my gosh, I can't even, what is time, right? Time has no meaning anymore. This is my second year of not being there. I quit after the 2021 school year, and I was burnt out. I couldn't do it anymore. And it wasn't just the pandemic, it was all of the unreasonableness kind of built up on top of it, being expected to do the oh my gosh, words are escaping me at the moment. I was at the front door, so I was literally the front line. Yeah. And so thinking about, I would lay down my life for these kids, but you shouldn't have to ask me to do that. And so there was just all of that mixed up in there. And I still know and work with a lot of those people, or talk to a lot of those people, and we've lost so many of them. They've just left the district, left teaching. It was so hard on everybody. And so I'm thinking about, I wonder if this is something I could offer to them or suggest to them. But I'm thinking about some of them, and I think the resistance to it would be very deep. Did you find that they were kind of like I don't want to play. I don't want to, that sounds dumb. I can just see some of them being like that to start.
I had, so the first session I did, I've done 2 10-week sessions, and the first session we had, I think 10 people. And I was super nervous. I had been warned ahead of time, teachers, they're not going to be open to this type of thing. They're not going to, this is the
worst students.
I had been warned. They were amazing. And I think because they've been so burned out, and somebody coming in and saying, this is your time. Everything else is being put on the back burner. We're here for you. Don't worry about whatever else is going on. We have 1 hour, and we're turning everything off. And so I think very quickly it became a safe place where they could just and because I constantly talk about we're not making mistakes. There's no wrong way to do any of this. And if you're doing it, you're doing it right. Yeah. And so I think very quickly they opened up to that. And so for the second session now, I've got about 25.
Oh my goodness.
And so then they said, you're coming back next year, right? I'm like, I hope so. So I think it's once they kind of figured out what it was,
Sure.
and that there's no expectations. It's
There's none
just
of the one of the complaints I hear about is the getting to know you, the stuff that extroverts like to do and the introverts hate. And you know, if you're just there to make art, then you're not doing some of those other things that
yeah.
some of them don't enjoy. And so
And I
that's
don't make them share. I tell
okay.
them, you know, this is all for you.
Yeah.
If you want to share, I would love to see what you're doing because it's always so fun. And they've gotten to that point now where towards the end they'll get up and they'll walk around and
Yeah.
see what each other is doing and they'll share ideas. And that's awesome. I love to
That's
see
lovely.
them doing
Yeah.
that. And last week, because I teach every Thursday, and last week I had several teachers show me that they had been using some of these lessons with their students.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
kiddos were having a hard time and you know, they would open up their sketchbook and say, all right, let's just, you know, let's just work it out. And
Yeah.
that filled my heart with so much joy
Oh,
to think that that
sure.
is helping those kids because they're like one of the things with my daughter where, you know, as she's been aging, she's been learning more communication skills and how to tell us what's going on. But for so
Mm-hmm.
many of them, they don't understand how they're feeling. And
Right.
frustration can mean so many different things. Or, you know, if they're struggling with, you know, ADHD or dyslexia or something, they can't communicate what it is. Or even like with my daughter with anxiety and depression, like finding the words
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard. But then being able to just scribble something out on a piece of paper or tear up paper and you know, just make a mess it's just like that burst of just getting it out.
Right,
And
right.
it feels good.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I know I feel better when I scribble it down or, you know, and then cover it up and, you know, whatever. So,
Yep.
yeah. It's awesome to be getting that into kids too. So,
Yeah.
very cool. So, I don't know how long your demo is going to take. Do you want to go ahead and flip yourself around so you could
Sure.
do that so we don't run out of time? That'd
Yeah,
be great.
sure. Let's see. I'm gonna try and do this as smoothly as possible. Let's see if this
Okay.
works. Oops. Okay. All right. Can you see my desk?
I sure can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So the thing that it's interesting because I don't know if you can see my huge collection of watercolors here.
Yes.
And a friend asked me one time, why do you have so many watercolors? And I said, well, first of all, it's colors. I'm obsessed with all of these colors. They're just so pretty.
Yes.
But the other thing is when you play with all of the different colors and all of the different brands, they interact with each other very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So especially for this process where you can get some really interesting blending techniques and just really cool effects. So it's just fun to lay them all out and just play with them.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I have mine all laid out, and I keep thinking, man, this is a lot of watercolor, but I can't find any that I'd want to get rid of.
Oh gosh, no. No, you need all of them.
Absolutely.
And so for the watercolor circles, it's such a simple process and it feels so simple. And it's interesting. I teach a class for this and it's a 3-hour class. And I had a student one time ask me, we're seriously going to do this for 3 hours? And I said, yeah, we are. And at the end of it, she goes, I'm not done. Can we not be done?
I love that. Yes.
So
Well,
all you need.
sometimes I forget how much fun watercolors are too. So.
Yep. And again, if you've got all the colors, then you can just play with all of those mixtures and combinations.
Yes.
So really all you need is one set of watercolors and a brush and water and paper. You can do it in a journal or with loose sheets. The nice thing about having a loose sheet is if you fill a sheet, you can just tear it off and put it aside to dry. And then there's two ways that you can do it. You can start just with a circle of water on the paper so that you've got just that wet circle first, and then go in and just dip your paint into it. And it's just so much fun to watch that just kind of explode all over.
I mean, no matter how many times I do it, I just love doing it and watching it.
Yep. And it's so soothing.
Yes.
It's so soothing and magical. And then I just play with bringing different colors in and then just dipping those in. And again, the way that they push and pull on each other, it's just so cool to see how they interact. And so it's just dipping your brush in and just making those circles. The other thing that you can do is get your brush wet with the paint first,
Mm-hmm.
and then go in and do your circle, and then come back in with a second color, and then just dip that in, and just kind of play with the amount of water that you're using. And it's all just about playing. So you're just experimenting with the amount of water, the colors, blending things, not blending things, letting them sit on top.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just playing. And it sounds so, I it just sounds so simple. And it is. It's just letting yourself go. And I think that's the hardest part, is
Yeah.
just accepting that you're not going to love all of them. And the other thing that I always tell people is, don't get too attached to how they look right now, because when they dry, they're going to look totally different.
Yep.
So if you hate the way they look right now, that's fine, because when you look at them when they're dry, you may absolutely love them. So that's, don't get too attached.
That's part of the whole letting things go. And
Yep.
whoops, sorry for I keep hitting my table where my camera is, so I'm making earthquakes. Do you ever experiment like with salt or with, like alcohol or anything?
Sometimes I don't know. I get so attached to just sitting with my paints
With the
and
paint and
just
the water.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that I have gotten really attached to are the granulating colors, or the
Oh,
shifting
yeah.
colors. So like this one right here, this is one of the Schminky super granulating. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can see that there's like multiple colors in
Yes.
one pan of paint. So those are a lot of fun to play with. And then Daniel Smith has some too that will kind of shift and blend. And so, using a bunch of those together are really fun, because then you can get a whole bunch of colors
Oh,
with
sure.
just a few paints.
I think the Daniel Smith Moonglow is one of my favorite paints.
Yep. Yep. That is a beautiful one. The other
Yeah.
paints that I've recently discovered are the Beam paints, and they are out of Canada, and they are, oh my gosh, I just love these. And they're just they call them paint stones.
Oh,
And
okay, I haven't heard of that
oh my
before.
gosh, I love them. They are beautiful, beautiful paints. And they've got, like, this one has mica in it. And so
Mm.
it's got just that little shimmer, and the gold, it looks so pretty when it dries. So
Yeah,
that's really fun to paint.
you'll have to share a link with me so that I can add that to the post when I share this.
Yeah, definitely. So these are all they are made by the indigenous people in I'm trying to remember what part of Canada. But everything is natural.
Mm.
Everything's handmade. This is like a beeswax wrapped paper that they use, so they're not using any plastics or anything. They're just gorgeous, and they've got a ton of really pretty colors.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm interested to look into that. Not that I need any more paint,
Oh, I
mind
know.
you.
I know, that's the problem. Is then it's like, oh well, more colors.
More colors.
So it's really just about slowing down.
Yeah.
There's so much of this that is just slowing down and just kind of playing and literally watching the paint
Mhm.
dry. Which I think that was something that was really hard for me to do. And actually during the pandemic, I started watching Amy Maricle's slow drying that she does
Oh,
on
yeah.
Wednesdays. And that really, really helped with just slowing down and taking time with things, and I would notice how anxious I was at the beginning. And even with these, like just that nervous energy and just going really fast and getting things down. And then by the end of a painting session, I could feel my breathing slowing down. I could feel like my heart rate. And so it was pretty amazing to have that experience just with paint and a
Yeah,
brush.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I get too impatient with my watercolors, and if it's in a book, I'm always getting my heat gun out, but sometimes then you lose some of the interesting things that the watercolor does
Yep.
when you
Well,
force
and
it.
I also wanted to just show you. So a lot of times people will ask, well, what do you do with them? Um, well, you collect them,
You
and then
collect
you have
them.
all these pretty colors.
Yeah.
But so I usually cut mine out if I'm working on a sheet, and then I'll have just, stacks of my little circles,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go back in, you can draw on them.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
they're great for collage. But the other thing that I had mentioned in the article was making the cairns. And
Yes.
these just became such a wonderful process of just stacking those stones and having that historical significance behind them and those amazing stories.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about the power of each of these little rocks. And so that became a really therapeutic process. It's just to take these little circles that I had done and just stack them up into something that then was really, really meaningful. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
been sharing these and giving these away, and including the stories so that people know that the story behind the cairns. And it's been a great way to use these so that it's not just I'm painting the circles just for myself, but then it's kind of sharing that therapeutic process with other people, and trying to encourage them to, find their own forms of self-care.
Sure. Sure. Well, and did you watch yesterday's live with Carol Myers?
Not yet. That's on my list for today.
She does what she calls pencil prayers, and she shares them quite a bit. And she's one of the things she talks about is that they kind of call to people, and it's just always interesting which ones people are drawn to. It's a really lovely practice.
Just shift back real quick so I can actually talk to you. I love that idea, and I love being able to share a simple practice like that with people. And
Mhm.
I think there's so much meaning and power in that.
Yeah. Well, and it's you were talking about it being simple. I think it's one of those things that's like deceptively simple. It's easy, but yet it took a lot for you to do it. It took a lot for you to get to that point where you're making them and sharing them, and and then the meaning behind the cairns and all of that it puts a lot more. You know, I was watching something. Oh, one of the a class, I've taken a couple classes from someone, and she kept showing these tricks, tips and tricks, and it's just easier than it looks or something like that. And I'm like, well, but it is easy. It just looks, you know, it looks like so much more, which I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but there's something to that, I guess, is where I'm going.
Well, and I think that too, the significance of that really came through with all of the experiences with my daughter, and
Oh, sure.
how, for 4 years, it's been hard because I feel like life has moved on without us, and people are living quote unquote normal lives. And,
What's
where,
normal?
right. But there are days where by the end of the day, I'm like, okay, my daughter's alive. And like,
Mm,
that is the biggest, like, that's my accomplishment for the day. And
yeah.
it's really, really hard to be in that place, but it also helps you really refocus on what's important
Oh,
and the
absolutely.
simple things. And so something simple like painting a circle and just being able to have the time to do that, and just knowing, okay, this is my breath. I'm just breathing with this circle, and my daughter is breathing right now. And
Mm-hmm.
we're just taking it one breath at a time. And I think, when you're in those moments of things are just really overwhelming and really big, it's nice to have those simple practices.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you have shared that with us. And I think, and I've heard from a number of people about how much they've appreciated seeing all of these simple practices that were shared in this issue, and that we're sharing things that, you know, are simple and aren't necessarily perfect and aren't like these big show worthy type pieces. They're not big A art, it's little A art. And that is just as, if not more important, I think, you know, to people's well-being. We need to make things. And so if it's a circle of watercolor on a piece of paper, then by golly, you did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and that's that reminder of that there's some days where that's what you do. You woke up and you took a shower
Yes.
and you got out of bed, and you know, it's hard to think, whoa, that's the only thing I accomplished today, but it's some days that's a big win. And so
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
again, just those little steps. And I think that helps to get through to the next step.
Right. Yes. Yes. What is normal anymore? I'm
Right.
not sure.
Well, and the other thing, through talking with people, especially with friends and through classes, and how many people have gone through really big experiences on top of COVID,
Yeah.
loss of family members, cancer diagnosis, all of these really big things. And I feel like everybody is struggling with something. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to have those reminders of just taking things day by day, and, you know, and not comparing, like I just thinking of, oh, the whole world is moving on without me, taking those tiny steps to get through, because there are so many people, and so many people aren't talking about what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
And so that's too where I miss the community, where it's so supportive and it's so amazing. And I've been so thankful. I'm in Minneapolis, and we've got such an incredible art community here. And so
Yeah.
I've got friends that are close to me who I get to just have art play dates with, and there's multiple groups that I can join. And so I feel very lucky to be in this area. And I know not everybody lives in places like that. So that's where it's so important to find those groups online, and to have publications like Strawberry Moon, and know that there's other people out there.
Yeah, you know, every so often I'll hear something about your art community up there, and I'm like, hey, come on, how come I don't have that? Well, I'm in little bitty Traer in the middle of nowhere, so my art community is Instagram and Get Messy, and now the readers of the magazine and so forth. So, and so your community does miss you, Molly. I think you've heard that at least twice today already. So hopefully you'll, when you're ready to post again, you know that we're here to cheer you on. And yeah. So do you have anything, last things you'd like to share with us before we wrap up for today?
I encourage people to just play.
Yeah.
Just play. Just open your book and play. And if you make something and you don't post it, it does matter.
Yes.
It does matter.
And you know, I have gotten to that point a lot more recently. I don't post as often as I used to, just because it just doesn't feed me the same way it used to, because I got what I needed out of the making.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining, and thanks for those of you that were able to join us live. And I will get the replay up, and we'll include the link to the paints that you mentioned. And I think that's everything for today.
I think so.
All right. Thanks for joining me, Molly. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again so much for this opportunity, and for this publication. This was such a well-needed publication.
Thank you.
Topic for this issue, and your magazine is it's gorgeous. You do such a great job.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it, and I'm super excited about our next issue too. We're going to be doing handmade books, which is one of my favorite things. So a lot of self-care involved in making those too.
Yeah.
So, all right, we will talk to you, see you around later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.